The Galactic Council convened in its grand hall, a dome of shimmering crystal suspended amidst the vast emptiness of space. Lights pulse along the walls, reflecting the colors of distant stars, while delegates from countless species filled the room, their forms as varied as the worlds they hailed from. Towering reptilian figures with iridescent scales stood alongside beings composed entirely of shimmering gas. Yet among these ancient and advanced races, one presence drew subtle sneers and whispers. Earth's representative. Commander Xylo of the Crixian Dominion leaned toward strategist Morak, a grizzled veteran of the Rinthian clans. His voice, though soft, was tinged with disdain. "They sent a human? I thought this was a matter of importance." Morak grunted, the ridges along his massive brow furrowing. "Primitive creatures. Clumsy, unpredictable. Their presence here is an insult to galactic warfare." At the center of the assembly, Supreme Counselor Vexla raised her crystalline staff, signaling for silence. Her translucent form radiated authority, commanding even the most obstinate species to heed her words. "The threat we face from the Zerati hive cannot be overstated," she declared. "Their relentless expansion has already consumed 3 outer colonies. We require every resource, every ally, to mount a defense." The mention of the Zerati silenced even the harshest critics. The hive was a terror unlike any other, an unstoppable swarm driven by a singular, insatiable will to conquer. Entire fleets had fallen before their advance, leaving only desolation in their wake. Despite the gravity of the situation, Commander Xylo could not suppress a scoff. "And yet, you summon Earth? A backwater planet with no significant technological advancements or strategic contributions. Their inclusion here is illogical." Counselor Vexla's gaze hardened. "Earth has proven resourceful in ways you may not yet comprehend. Dismissing them without consideration would be a grave mistake." Before Xylo could retort, the chamber doors hissed open, drawing all attention to the figure striding confidently into the hall. Captain Leon Graves, clad in a matte-black combat suit, moved with the measured precision of a soldier accustomed to hostile environments. His sharp eyes swept the room, assessing every potential threat with cold calculation. There was nothing particularly imposing about Leon's appearance. He lacked the towering stature of the Crixians or the fearsome presence of the Rinthians. Yet there was an undeniable weight to his presence, a quiet confidence forged through years of survival on battlefields where failure meant death. Stopping before the council dais, Leon offered a curt nod. "Captain Leon Graves, representing Earth's military forces." The silence that followed was thick with skepticism. Xylo's tail flicked in irritation. "Is this some kind of jest? One human soldier against the Zerati? This is lunacy." Leon's expression remained unreadable. "I've faced worse odds." Morak barked a laugh, a harsh, guttural sound. "Arrogant, too. Typical human bravado." Counselor Vexla raised her hand, silencing further objections. "Captain Graves comes highly recommended by Earth's Defense Command. His expertise in long-range combat and unconventional tactics has proven invaluable in conflicts on his homeworld." Leon met the council's collective gaze without flinching. "I'm not here to prove myself to anyone," he said evenly. "I'm here to win. You can either use what I offer or watch your worlds burn." A tense silence followed his words, broken only by the faint hum of the hall's energy conduits. Xylo's eyes narrowed, his pride clearly wounded. "What exactly do you propose, Captain Graves? What can one primitive human possibly contribute to this war?" Leon's voice was calm but firm. "I see problems differently than you do. Where you rely on brute force and technology, I use precision and adaptability. I don't need to destroy an entire fleet to win. I just need to take out the right target." Counselor Vexla's crystalline form pulsed with faint light. "And you believe you can do this against the Zerati hive?" Leon's lips curved into a faint, humorless smile. "Give me a vantage point and a clear line of sight. The rest is just details." The council murmured amongst themselves, the doubt palpable. Yet beneath the skepticism, there was a flicker of curiosity, a glimmer of hope that perhaps this unassuming human could be more than he appeared. Vexla tapped her staff against the floor, the resonant chime signaling the end of the deliberation. "Very well, Captain Graves. You will have your chance. But understand this, failure is not an option. The survival of countless worlds hangs in the balance." Leon nodded once. Understood. As the council adjourned, Xylo turned to Morak, his voice low and venomous. "This will be a disaster." Morak's eyes gleamed with a predatory glint. Perhaps we're about to witness something we never expected." Watching the council members disperse, Leon stood alone for a moment, his mind already calculating strategies and contingencies. The odds were grim, but that was nothing new. He thrived in impossible situations. And as far as Leon Graves was concerned, the Zerati had just made their first mistake. They'd underestimated a human. The battle was only beginning. The docking bay of the Galactic Council's central station was a vast expanse of gleaming metal and energy conduits, bustling with activity as ships from distant worlds arrived and departed in synchronized patterns. Despite the orchestrated chaos, a palpable sense of tension clung to the air. Soldiers clad in sleek battle armor from various species moved with precision, their movements reflecting centuries of military discipline. Yet amid the advanced technology and alien grandeur, a single figure stood out. A lone human stepping off a transport craft with an air of quiet determination. Captain Leon Graves surveyed the bay with sharp, calculating eyes. His combat boots struck the metallic floor with a measured rhythm, each step deliberate. The weight of his gear, from the matte black rifle strapped across his back to the assortment of compact gadgets secured to his belt, was familiar and comforting. Leon was a man shaped by war, honed by survival, and hardened by countless missions where failure had never been an option. A pair of Crixian guards, towering reptilian figures with shimmering scales, blocked his path. Their eyes gleamed with suspicion as one bared sharp fangs. "State your designation and purpose," the guard growled, his voice reverberating like grinding stone. Leon didn't flinch. "Captain Leon Graves, Earth Defense Command. Here by request of the Galactic Council." His tone was even, devoid of bravado but firm enough to command attention. The guards exchanged skeptical glances before reluctantly stepping aside. Beyond them, strategist Morak waited, his massive frame exuding an air of barely restrained hostility. The Rinthian general's thick armor was scarred from countless battles, and his gaze was as sharp as the blade sheathed at his side. "So this is the great Earth sniper we've heard so much about," Morak said, his voice dripping with disdain. "They sent one man to fight the Zerati? Bold strategy or sheer desperation?" Leon met Morak's gaze without wavering. "Desperation has a way of bringing out the best in people." Morak snorted, his ridges flexing in contempt. "We'll see if that holds true when the Zerati tear through your primitive tactics like vapor." He gestured brusquely. "Come, the council awaits." As they walked through the labyrinthine corridors of the station, Leon remained silent, his mind already processing the situation. The Galactic Council's skepticism was expected. To them, Earth was a young, untested world with limited resources and even less credibility. But Leon hadn't come to win their approval. He was here to win a war. The council chamber loomed ahead, its crystalline walls shimmering with energy. Inside, Commander Xylo stood near the central dais, his scale form radiating disdain. His voice carried across the room as Leon and Morak entered. "Ah, the human has finally graced us with his presence," Xylo sneered. "Tell me, Captain Graves, do you plan to fight the Zerati with sticks and stones?" Leon stopped a few paces from the dais, his expression unreadable. "I prefer bullets. They're faster." The room fell into a tense silence before Counselor Vexla's calm, authoritative voice broke through. "Captain Graves, your reputation precedes you. Earth's Defense Command speaks highly of your tactical prowess and marksmanship. We have summoned you here because the Zerati threat requires unconventional solutions. Leon nodded. Glad someone here understands that. Xylo's tail flicked in irritation. This is absurd. One man cannot change the outcome of a war. I'm not just one man, Leon said quietly. I'm a problem solver. And right now, your problem is that the Zerati are outthinking and outmaneuvering you. They're a hive mind, fast, adaptable, relentless. But like any system, they have weak points. You just have to know where to look. Morak crossed his thick arms, his voice skeptical but curious. And you think you can find those weak points? Leon's lips curved into a faint smile. Finding them is the easy part. Exploiting them? That's where I come in. The council members exchanged glances, their skepticism wavering beneath the weight of Leon's confidence. Vexla tapped her crystalline staff against the floor, signaling the next phase of deliberation. Captain Graves, she said, we will give you an opportunity to demonstrate your capabilities. A simulated exercise has been prepared to test your tactical acumen. The parameters have been designed to reflect conditions similar to those encountered in engagements with the Zerati. Leon's expression didn't change. When do we start? Immediately, Vexla replied. The chamber shifted, holographic panels flickering to life as the room transformed into a fully immersive battlefield simulation. Alien landscapes stretched out before them, populated by hostile targets designed to mimic Zerati behavior. Leon moved with practiced ease, taking a knee and calibrating his rifle. His breathing slowed, his focus narrowing until the bustling council and skeptical stares faded into irrelevance. All that remained was the target and the path to neutralizing it. The first shot rang out, a sharp crack that echoed through the chamber. One by one, simulated enemies fell, each kill clean and precise. Leon's movements were fluid, efficient, a dance of death that left no room for error. Within moments, the battlefield was silent. When the simulation ended, the council chamber returned to its previous state. Leon stood, slinging his rifle over his shoulder as he faced the stunned assembly. Morak broke the silence with a low, grudging chuckle. Well, I'll be damned. Xylo's expression twisted in disbelief, but even he couldn't deny what he had just witnessed. Vexla's crystalline form pulsed with approval. Impressive, Captain Graves. You've proven that Earth may indeed have something valuable to offer. Leon met her gaze steadily. That was just practice. The weight of his words hung in the air, a promise and a challenge wrapped into one. As the council members began to disperse, their doubts tempered by a newfound respect, Leon knew this was only the beginning. The real fight was yet to come, and he intended to win it. The tactical briefing room was dimly lit, its walls pulsating with streams of holographic data that flickered like nervous fireflies. Galactic Council officers, hardened by years of war, stood around a central projection table, their expressions grim. At the heart of the swirling imagery, a crimson mass expanded across the galaxy map like a spreading infection. The Zerati hive. Captain Leon Graves stood slightly apart from the alien strategist, arms crossed, his sharp eyes fixed on the display. The hive's territory was vast and ever-growing, consuming world after world with merciless precision. Each red pulse marked a colony that had fallen, its inhabitants either exterminated or absorbed into the hive's collective mind. Counselor Vexla's crystalline form flickered with agitation as she addressed the gathering. The Zerati advance has accelerated beyond our initial projections, she said, her voice resonating with authority despite the underlying tension. They adapt to every defense, counter every strategy. Traditional warfare has proven ineffective. Morak, the grizzled Rinthian general, grunted in agreement. His thick arms were folded across his armored chest, the scars etched into his hide testament to countless battles. They're not just conquerors, he growled. They're predators. They learn. They evolve. Every time we hit them, they hit back harder. Leon stepped forward, his voice cutting through the room's tension like a blade. What's their command structure? Vexla's holographic staff tapped against the floor, triggering a detailed projection of Zerati biological forms. The hive operates under a decentralized intelligence network, she explained. Each swarm unit functions autonomously, but is guided by a central entity, the Nexus Mind. Its location remains unknown. Leon studied the writhing forms displayed before him. The Zerati resembled a nightmarish fusion of insect and machine, their chitinous exoskeletons glistening with biomechanical enhancements. Razor-sharp limbs, pulsating sensory nodes, and adaptive camouflage made them a force few had survived facing. Decentralized intelligence, Leon repeated, his tone thoughtful. Cut off the Nexus Mind, and the whole swarm loses coordination. They'll still fight, but without strategy or cohesion. Morak snorted. Finding the Nexus Mind is impossible. We've tried everything. Scanners, infiltration, even bait tactics. They protect it better than their entire fleet. Then you're looking in the wrong places, Leon said bluntly. They're thinking like machines, not like soldiers. Machines prioritize efficiency. Soldiers prioritize survival. The Nexus Mind isn't hiding where it's obvious. It's hiding where it's least expected. Xylo, who had remained silent until now, flicked his tail in irritation. And you think a human, with your limited experience and primitive technology, can find what the entire Galactic Council cannot. Leon's gaze remained steady. I think like a hunter, not a bureaucrat. The room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by the hum of the holographic display. Despite their skepticism, there was a palpable shift in the atmosphere. Desperation had a way of making even the most stubborn minds reconsider. Vexla's crystalline form pulsed with faint light. Captain Graves, what would you propose? Leon's voice was calm but resolute. We draw them out. Force the Nexus Mind to reveal itself. They're too confident in their invincibility. That's their weakness. Create the right kind of chaos, and even the smartest predator shows its hand. Morak's eyes gleamed with a hint of approval. Chaos, eh? I like that idea. But how do you plan to survive long enough to see it through? Leon's lips curved into a faint, humorless smile. Surviving is what I'm best at. Xylo muttered something under his breath, clearly unimpressed, but Vexla raised her hand to silence him. Captain Graves, you will have the resources you require. But understand this, failure is not an option. The fate of countless worlds hangs in the balance. Leon nodded. Understood. I'll need a small team, minimal interference, and absolute operational freedom. Morak barked a laugh. Now you're talking like a Rinthian. I might even start to like you, Earthman. Ignoring the jibe, Leon turned back to the map, his mind already racing with possibilities. The Zerati were adaptable, relentless, and undeniably dangerous. But they weren't invincible. They could be beaten, and Leon intended to do just that. As the council members began to disperse, Vexla lingered for a moment, her crystalline eyes studying Leon with curiosity. Do you truly believe this can work, Captain? I don't believe in guarantees, Leon replied. But I know one thing for sure. If we sit here doing nothing, we lose. I'd rather die fighting than watch the galaxy burn. Vexla inclined her head, a gesture of rare respect. Then may your instincts guide us to victory. As she disappeared into the shimmering corridors beyond, Leon stood alone before the pulsating red projection of the Zerati swarm. The odds were grim, the danger immeasurable, but none of that mattered. The hunt was on, and Leon Graves never missed his mark. The sky above the barren wasteland was thick with smoke, streaked by beams of energy cutting through the chaos. Jagged rocks jutted from the cracked ground, their surfaces scorched from recent battles. Explosions reverberated across the battlefield, sending shockwaves through the air as the Zerati forces pressed their relentless advance. Captain Leon Graves crouched behind a shattered outcrop, his breath steady despite the chaos. The matte-black surface of his sniper rifle gleamed under the dull, flickering light of the war-torn sky. His visor displayed a real-time tactical overlay, marking enemy positions and movement patterns with precision. Every target was a potential threat. But Leon's focus was razor-sharp, honed by years of combat experience. "Captain, they're closing in on your position," Morak's gruff voice crackled over the comm channel. Static cut through the transmission, but the urgency was clear. "You've got maybe 30 seconds before they overrun that ridge." Leon's lips thinned. More than enough time. He adjusted the scope, locking onto a Zarati commander perched atop a mobile war platform. The insectoid creature was encased in thick chitinous armor, its multifaceted eyes scanning the battlefield with eerie precision. A pulsating node on its thorax emitted commands to the swarm units below, coordinating their movements like a conductor leading a symphony of destruction. Leon exhaled slowly, his world narrowing to the crosshairs of his scope. Time seemed to stretch, each heartbeat measured and deliberate. He lined up the shot, compensating for wind drift and gravitational pull, his finger resting lightly on the trigger. A single crack shattered the air. The Zarati commander's body convulsed as the high-velocity round found its mark, punching through its armored shell and severing the command node. The war platform faltered, its coordinated units scattering in disarray. "Command node neutralized," Leon reported calmly. "They're blind for now. Move your forces in while you've got the window." Morak's laughter rumbled through the comm. "I take back what I said about humans being useless." "Nice shot, Graves." Leon didn't respond. Compliments were irrelevant when the mission wasn't over. He shifted position, crawling to a better vantage point as the swarm began to regroup. Their adaptability was impressive, but predictable. They would recalibrate their tactics, compensating for the loss of their commander within minutes. A sudden vibration coursed through the ground beneath him. Leon's instincts flared, and he rolled to the side just as a massive Zarati drone erupted from the soil, mandibles snapping where he had been moments before. The creature's exoskeleton shimmered with biomechanical enhancements, its limbs bristling with energy conduits. Leon sprang to his feet, drawing his sidearm in one fluid motion. The first shot glanced off the drone's armored hide, but the second found a weak joint near its thorax. Sparks erupted as the creature screeched in pain, its movements faltering. Without wasting a second, Leon closed the distance, planting a boot against the drone's side and firing point-blank into its exposed sensory cluster. The drone convulsed violently before collapsing in a twitching heap. "Graves," Morak's voice cut in again. "We're seeing increased activity near the eastern ridge. Looks like they're trying to flank us." "I'm on it," Leon said tersely, already moving. He sprinted across the battlefield, his movements fluid and purposeful despite the uneven terrain. The cacophony of war raged around him, but Leon's focus remained unshaken. Each step was calculated, each breath measured. This was his element, the chaos of combat, where every decision meant the difference between life and death. Reaching a vantage point overlooking the eastern ridge, Leon dropped to one knee, his rifle snapping into position. Through the scope, he spotted a cluster of Zarati shock troopers advancing in tight formation. Their shimmering carapaces reflected the dim light, making them difficult targets, but not impossible. Leon's breathing slowed as he entered the zone, that state of heightened awareness where time seemed to bend. He fired once, twice, 3 times in quick succession. Each shot found its mark, the shock troopers collapsing before they could reach their objective. The remaining Zarati hesitated, their cohesion disrupted. Seizing the opportunity, Allied forces surged forward, cutting through the disorganized swarm with brutal efficiency. "Eastern Ridge secure," Morak confirmed over the comm. "You just earned yourself another drink, Earthman." Leon allowed himself a brief, grim smile. "I'll take you up on that when this is over." A sudden shift in the air made him freeze. His instinct screamed a warning before his visor sensors confirmed it. A massive energy signature approaching fast. The Nexus mind had deployed a Guardian. The beast that emerged from the horizon was unlike anything Leon had faced before. Towering above the battlefield, its form was a grotesque amalgamation of organic and mechanical components. Pulsating energy conduits ran along its limbs, and its eyes burned with malevolent intelligence. It moved with a terrifying grace, each step shaking the ground. Leon tightened his grip on the rifle. Morak, I got visual on something big, real big. Looks like the hive brought out their heavy hitter. Can you take it down? Morak asked, his tone grim. Leon's jaw set. I'll find a way. He adjusted his scope, searching for weak points amid the Guardian's shifting armor. The beast's energy core pulsed near its chest, partially shielded by thick plating. A near-impossible shot, but that was nothing new to Leon. The battlefield faded into background noise as he focused. Breath steady, muscles relaxed, mind clear. He aligned the crosshairs with the core, accounting for the beast's movement and the distortion from its energy field. This was it. One shot, one chance. Leon exhaled slowly and pulled the trigger. The blast echoed across the battlefield, a searing lance of energy tearing through the monstrous Guardian's chest. For a moment, everything seemed frozen. The beast's towering form shuddered, its glowing core flickering erratically. A sound like metal grinding against bone filled the air as it struggled to remain upright, but its massive limbs gave way, sending it crashing to the ground in a thunderous collapse. Captain Leon Graves lowered his rifle, sweat beading on his brow despite the cold sting of the battlefield winds. His breathing was heavy, but his gaze remained fixed on the fallen creature. The energy conduits along its body flickered one last time before dimming completely. Silence followed, broken only by the distant hum of retreating Zarati forces. All units. The Guardian is down, Leon reported into the comm repeat. The target is neutralized. A burst of static preceded Morak's booming voice. You magnificent bastard. I didn't think even you could pull that off. Leon allowed himself a faint, weary grin. Neither did I. The Allied forces surged forward, emboldened by the sight of the fallen beast. What had moments ago seemed like a desperate last stand was now turning into a rout. Zarati units, deprived of their command structure, scattered across the battlefield in chaotic retreat. Energy beams and kinetic rounds cut through their ranks as the Galactic Council troops pressed their advantage. Vexla's crystalline voice broke through the calm. Captain Graves, the swarm is retreating beyond the perimeter. Victory is within reach. Maintain pursuit until they're out of our system, Leon instructed, and make sure the wounded are evacuated. The battlefield, once a chaotic maelstrom of death and destruction, was now quieting. Smoke drifted lazily into the sky, mingling with the acrid scent of scorched metal and charred earth. Medics moved among the fallen, administering aid to those who could be saved and marking those who could not. Leon slung his rifle over his shoulder, exhaustion settling into his bones. The weight of the battle pressed heavily on him, but there was no time for rest. He made his way toward the command post, where a gathering of council officials and senior officers awaited. As he approached, Morak clapped a heavy hand on his shoulder, nearly knocking him off balance. Damn fine work, Graves. You earned yourself a place in the legends today. I'm just glad it's over, Leon said, his voice rough. For now, Morak grunted, but you know the Zarati, always lurking, waiting. We'll be ready for them next time. Leon nodded but said nothing. The Zarati threat might have been driven back, but he knew better than to believe it was truly over. War had a way of lingering, its shadows stretching far beyond the battlefield. Vexla stepped forward, her crystalline form shimmering in the fading light. Captain Graves, your actions today were instrumental in securing our victory. The Galactic Council owes you a debt of gratitude. Leon met her gaze with quiet resolve. Just doing my job. Modesty does not diminish your achievements, she said, inclining her head. We will formally recognize your contributions at the upcoming council assembly. I'm not much for ceremonies, Leon admitted. Morak let out a hearty laugh. Better get used to it, Earthman. They're going to be singing songs about you for generations. Leon shook his head with a wry smile. Let's just make sure there's a galaxy left for them to sing in. Vexla's expression softened. Your pragmatism is appreciated, Captain. Rest assured, this victory marks a turning point. The Zerati will think twice before challenging us again. Leon wasn't so sure about that, but he kept his doubts to himself. For now, the galaxy had a chance to breathe, and that was enough. As the council officials dispersed, Leon found himself standing alone at the edge of the battlefield. The distant horizon was tinged with the golden hues of a new dawn, a stark contrast to the devastation that lay beneath it. Smoke still rose and whisked from the shattered ground, but the air carried a sense of fragile hope. He took a deep breath, the weight of the day pressing heavily on his shoulders. The memories of fallen comrades flickered in his mind, their faces etched into his consciousness. Each loss was a scar he carried, a reminder of the cost of war. Yet amidst the sorrow, there was a flicker of pride. They had fought against impossible odds and emerged victorious. The galaxy might never fully understand the sacrifices made here, but Leon didn't need recognition. Victory was its own reward. As he turned to leave, his calm crackled once more. "Graves," Morak's voice rumbled. "You still owe me that drink." Leon chuckled softly. "Yeah, I suppose I do." And with that, he walked away from the battlefield, ready to face whatever came next. The fight was never truly over, but for now, it was enough to have won this one.